John, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said, I'm a John Iadarola Democrat.
Oh, fascinating. What does that mean?
Okay, and that's a good question. And of course, I immediately asked him that because I was like, that's preposterous. So, okay, what does that mean? And he said, a rational progressive who, cares deeply about progressive issues and has a logical way of addressing them.
Yep.
And I was like,
it's a good way.
That's a nice
I
compliment.
would love to be able to define that better, but I'm not going to be able to.
Yeah. That's a good definition. And
that guy sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anna.
So, John, as a John Iadarola Democrat, what do you think our priorities should be?
I wouldn't call myself a John Iadarola Democrat. I find some of his positions kind of scary, a little bit. No. What do I think? What
should be our priorities in the upcoming year?
Strategically or legislatively?
Both.
Okay, my answer is probably gonna be the same for both. So I think, look, I think that part of this is gonna go to the people who have the ability to actually propose bills and theoretically get them passed. Some of it is gonna be to you watching this, the average progressive. We both have to look forward to 2020, but we also have to hit the ground running right now. So in terms of what I would like the Congress to do, the past month or so has been incredibly exciting for me in particular, because as you guys know, I have been trying to get people to focus on environmental issues for literally years. And sometimes it works, but a lot of the times it's like, come on, it's a glacier, I don't care, it's not exciting. But thankfully, our country has been ravaged by extreme weather events recently, so that's good. But no, really the silver lining is that people are paying attention to this a little bit more. And then you have both the Sunrise Movement and you have politicians like Rashida Tlaib and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez who are talking constantly about a Green New Deal, which is no longer, thankfully, this thing that you say it and people don't really know what it means. People are starting to get an idea of what it means, that it has an environmental core, but many related progressive areas around it in terms of environmental justice. There's issues of race, there's economic implications, healthcare implications, and all that. So I want to see that stay in the news. I don't want, when we hit 2020, I don't want there to have been a 2-week period where someone notable was not talking about something having to do with the Green New Deal, how necessary it is, how we implement it, and all of the benefits that we could derive as either progressives or Americans from its implementation. And along the way, there's a lot of other policies we could talk about. I'm sure Anna will bring up many. What I would like to see is, for those of you watching this, you're obviously the most invested progressives probably in the country, I would imagine. What we need to do is ease the path for those 2020 candidates. We need to make sure that the things that they're going to be advocating for, whether they're regular progressive goals or lib goals or democratic socialist goals, we don't want people to be blindsided by terms like universal basic income or a jobs guarantee or a comprehensive anti-corruption measure, like a lot of these sorts of things. And the Green New Deal is a part of that. We need to be talking those things up now, not just right in advance of the election. If we're worried about people being disenfranchised and voter purges and all of that, we need to be talking about that now. If we think that the Supreme Court is going to need to be massively reformed based on the experience the past couple of times around, we can't wait until the next candidate or the next nominee is ready to go. We got to be talking about that now. And so there's a lot of responsibilities that we face, and it can be daunting. But we've seen over the past few years what our activism and what our voices have wrought. And what they've wrought is that suddenly issues that only we were talking about and thinking about a couple of years ago now are very much in the mainstream. Majorities supporting them. Things like Medicare for All, Republican majorities supporting them. And that is because of the advocacy of political leaders, but also the conversations that we have every day, whether we're on this side of the camera or on that side of the camera. That is what eases the path. And I want to see so much more of that. These next 2 years are going to be long, they're going to be hard, but there are so many opportunities for us to finally address some of the fundamental issues that our country has been facing throughout our lives.
Yeah, Anna and I were going to do a story on the Young Turks today about some evangelical Christians and how they're losing their young. They're leaving the church, and partly because they become so political, the church has, and so ridiculously right-wing. And there was a quote in there, I don't remember it exactly, but the guy, one of the young guys who left, sounded just like us, right? And it might be just that it's a coincidence, and that's why we became popular online, because our opinions happen to match the opinions of the younger generation. But maybe we even influenced that a little bit. And so to your point about the Green New Deal, I mean, Young Turks viewers gave money to Ocasio-Cortez. She only took small dollar donations from you guys and others. Some of you guys volunteered for her, and you made the Just Democrats possible. So I know it sounds cliched and corny, be the change that you want to see in the world, but you kind of did that. And now John's absolutely right. That was the beginning. Now we got to do it in terms of policy, because all this is for nothing if we don't get policy.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in power for power's sake. I'm not interested in fame. I'm not interested in the egos of the particular politicians, who's going to win, who's going to lose. Who cares if it doesn't lead to policy changes?
Yeah.
So that's what we got to fight for. And yes, 2020 is monumentally important, because if you have a corporate person who wins, we will go back to doing nothing for 4 years. And we can't afford to waste another 4 years, especially on the issue of climate change. And we can't let the mainstream media frame progressives in the way that they want to, impractical, spends too much, all this nonsense that they spew, when in reality, right under their nose, the Republicans waste trillions of dollars on wars, tax cuts for the rich, and the establishment media cheers them on. So we're not going to accept it. We're going to keep on fighting. Speaking of amplifying our voice, more people have now donated. Joseph Miller from LA, $150. And you get a t-shirt as well, the Amplify t-shirt. So everybody participate if you can, tyt.com/amplify. Earlier today, John Oliver got a package and Face the Nation got a package. There's a lot more media groups out there, WashingtonPost.com and others, C-SPAN. Please check it out. You'll see who's available at the website, tyt.com/amplify. $1,000 or more gets you on the donor wall here that we literally put on the studio wall, so we see your names every day. $500 gets you on the honor roll on tyt.com. The $150 gets you the t-shirt. But remember, the two main things you're doing is building home of progressives here, so that you have that progressive media to fight back when those establishment media attack our progressive candidates and our progressive issues. And secondarily, and importantly, you're amplifying our voice to journalism students and to other people in the media and in the world, including, by the way, someone who's going to join us a little bit later in this live broadcast, Rosaria Dawson. One of you guys got her Amplify package. Now her family, and the people that work with her now all have Young Turks membership, and now she's coming on the program to talk to us about it. So it's pretty neat. So awesome. We've been looking at the thermometer. Before I go to Anna's vision for what we should do in 2019. We started today at about 38,700. Let's see where it is today right now. Wow, 38,856.
I had not seen that it had gone up that much.
Yeah, that's wonderful, guys. You can just join, by the way, if you're not a member, at tyt.com/join. And obviously you can give a gift during the holidays, tyt.com/gift. But if you want to do a bigger program like Amplify, that would be amazing. Tonight, we're trying to get to 39,000. We're doing 5 hours of coverage for you guys, and we brought all these progressive stars for you guys. We're trying to deliver for you, and of course, members get all of this at their convenience. You could download it or stream it. All of our shows, including Anna's No Filter, John's Damage Report. That's Damage Report is now live every day. It's our morning show. Members, please check it out. I think you're going to love it. Okay, Anna, your vision for what our priority should be in 2019.
So I do want to just touch on two things. One is legislative, the other is strategic. But first, I actually want to start with strategery. So there is nothing more powerful than opposition research. And I think that it should be utilized by progressive members of Congress against corporatist Democrats. And I'm not talking about hiring some shady, group of people that look into the personal lives of lawmakers. No, I'm talking about very simple oppo research that you can do right now in 10 minutes, right? Go online, go to opensecrets.org, find out who the corporate donors are for these corporate Democrats. And anytime a policy issue comes up and they fight back against it, you bring up their donors. Right now, that is a faux pas. You don't do that in Congress, but you should do it in Congress. If you are a progressive, that is your secret weapon, and that is the corporatists' kryptonite.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I love that.
Embarrass them. That's what you should do.
Super fast, Ro Khanna did that after one of his attempts to stop our involvement in the war in Yemen was shot down. He started talking about how much each of the people who voted against it had been given by the defense industry.
Love it.
And by the way, so I was in Washington recently a couple times, and it's amazing how much groupthink exists there, which is both to John and Anna's points. So when Ro did that, the groupthink in Washington was Ro Khanna. He's not right, right? He's not right for leadership in the future or whatever. They started saying all this whisper campaign against Ro Khanna. Why? Because he was breaking the unwritten rules that Anna was talking about. He was naming their donors, and that drives them crazy.
Because they have no defense. They have no defense. You know what I mean? Like they can start their whisper campaigns and talk about how, Ro Khanna is one of the outsiders who wears the leather jacket. But you know what? People who wear the leather jacket, those are the good guys.
Yeah, and so to me, when Ro shows that kind of leadership, he showed that leadership in being the first just Democrat. He showed that leadership in introducing Stop Bezos Act with Bernie Sanders, then Walmart with Bernie Sanders, stopping the war in Yemen. Almost all, like you look at the number of progressive legislation introduced in the House, a shockingly high percentage is Ro Khanna. So to me, it's the exact opposite of Washington says as usual. That means Ro Khanna is a leader in the House and absolutely belongs in leadership.
One more example of that is him and Bernie Sanders, their bill, where effectively if a pharmaceutical product costs more on average here than it does in 7 other industrialized Western nations, the company will lose their monopoly like trademark on it. Like you don't do that if you're getting tons of money and if you rely on money from the pharmaceutical companies. But if you give up that money, suddenly you can have radical, bold ideas that could drastically reduce the price of medication in the US.
And that's another great point. And one more to what Anna said. Ocasio-Cortez, when she demanded the Green New Deal and joined a protest outside of Nancy Pelosi's office. Totally unacceptable in Washington. Everyone else in the country loved it, okay? And I look, to the degree that anyone listens to me, when I talk to progressives that are now in the House, et cetera, and in the Senate, I tell them, whatever Washington tells you, do the opposite, okay? Because you'll sit there and you're inside the bubble, eventually it starts to soak in. Do not let it do that, okay? Because they are dead wrong. We wanted them to do that protest, they did, and it worked spectacularly. And then she said, you know what? The point of the protest, along with the Sunrise Movement and Just Democrats, was we want a select committee on the Green New Deal. And here's the important part. We don't want anyone on the committee who has taken fossil fuel money. Okay? And that's when the leadership was like, and that really enraged them because it pointed out that the people that are on the Energy Committee in the House almost all take fossil fuel money. And they're institutionally corrupt. And so that drove them absolutely crazy. Did that stop Ocasio-Cortez? No, it didn't.
So we have in American government our own version of Narcos, right? So if you guys are watching the latest season of Narcos on Netflix, the corruption in the Mexican government and the Mexican police enforcement was rampant, and it still is, to be fair. But these drug cartels would just go to Tijuana and buy up members of the local police force or members of the military, whoever they wanted. And that's essentially what's happening right now, not necessarily when it comes to the drug trade, although you could make the case when it comes to the pharmaceutical industry, right? It's not happening when it comes to the illegal drug trade, but it's happening with our lives. It's happening with healthcare, it's happening with all these other issues that are so important. So we need to stop allowing the corporate cartels to come in and buy up our politicians.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, we look down on countries like Mexico, Colombia that had the problem with the war on drugs, which by the way, we started. And we say, oh, look at their corruption. Are you kidding me? We institutionalized corruption. We made corruption legal here. So what are opioids? It's opium, it's literally opium. And we just legalize it and now sell it. So all these things that are incredibly dangerous for us, smoking, fossil fuels, opium, et cetera, just legalize it and allow them to bribe our politicians through money in politics. So I love Anna's strategy, and I love that you led with that.
Yeah.
Anything else in terms of priorities? So
when it comes to legislation, I don't know why this is the case, but I feel like lately I've enjoyed doing No Filter specifically because it allows me to do a deep dive on the financial industry and some of the wrongdoings of people like David Glass. So David Glass founded a company called Yellowstone, and basically what they do is they give out these loans to small businesses throughout the country, but they force the small businesses to sign something known as a confession of judgment. And basically what that document indicates is that no matter what, if the lender claims that you've done something wrong, let's say you haven't been paying back your loan, they claim that, they don't even have to prove it. Some clerk in New York will just look at that confession of judgment and be like, oh, the person who took on this loan has already confessed guilt. So no day in court, don't care about the evidence. So David Glass is a horrible person. He's already been convicted of insider trading. He spent time behind, no, he did not spend time behind bars. He was spared.
He's rich.
No, he was spared time behind bars because he secretly recorded his former colleagues to give prosecutors incriminating evidence on them. But nonetheless, this guy has gotten into all sorts of trouble, but he's out there preying on people, preying on individuals who are trying to start up small businesses throughout the country. And he and his organization will literally lie about these small businesses and claim that they haven't been paying back their loan, even though evidence suggests that they have been. He has destroyed so many people's lives throughout the country. So my point is,
so don't vote for him in 2020.
Dodd-Frank was trash, okay? I want real regulation. I want it to be robust. And I want to go after the corporate greed that we're seeing right now. The CFPB needs to be beefed up again. I want it to be even more powerful than it was before Mick Mulvaney dismantled it. That's what I want to focus on. Like, of course I want to get money out of politics. That's the root of all evil in the country. But poverty is out of control in America, and it's because of the corporate greed that we're seeing right now.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below. Then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.